Animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
We're watching the little grebes bob and dive away here in Vuyatela Dam, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. Welcome to the most spectacular, well I think it's going to be the most spectacular sunset safari out here in the Sabi Sand Private Game Reserve in South Africa. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me on this very windy day is Craig, aka Batman. One of these days he's going to stop doing the thumb and we're just going to have to shine a bat signal straight into the camera. And like I said, we're out here, we're looking for all sorts of wonderful things. Who knows what we're going to see. Hopefully we'll find the royal family, maybe the Nkuhumas, you never know, and possibly a couple of elephants splashing around. Now this is a live interactive safari, so we really hope that you do send us through many questions or comments or even some screenshots, and we'd be quite happy to answer any questions you have for us. And the best way to get hold of all of the presenters out here, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and those will come right through and be fed into our ears. Craig, are you there? Silent Craig. Now we're just bumbling around at the moment. Herbert actually mentioned to me that there were some Dugger boys, some buffalo bulls, roaming around on a road called Jigga Jigga Road, aka Ingwe Alley, which is one of the prettier roads that we have out here on Djuma. So that's what we're doing, is we are heading in that direction via the scenic route. And when I say scenic route, I mean that we're going through now Giraffe Dip. We're going to go along Central, and then we'll start going south, and hopefully we will bump into those Dugger boys, perhaps mud wallowing, who knows what they will be up to. But Craig, we need to get fly swatters here. Although actually Craig said to me, this is the kind of things that Craig says to me. Craig said to me, he says, no, we don't really need fly swatters because they're all just hanging around me. So I was just bait, I was luring them away. See Craig, because you said that you get the ugly one and you have to pull your own stems off. There you go. Right, let's carry on. I've got a goodie. Swat those flies away. I just think that this is the most unbelievable piece of bush equipment that we have out here. There are many different trees and plants that can do all sorts of fantastic things. That was Craig just closing the back there. He almost fell out. No, he didn't. But I think of all the trees, this has to be one of my favorite shrubs. The guarri branch. There's just so much that you can do with it. And of course, my particular favorite, and I think it's the favorite of all of us at the moment, is to swat flies and beat the ticks away. I don't know how you feel about that. But if you ever do come out to Africa, this is something you've definitely got to do, is grab hold of a guarri branch and just see all the useful things that you can do with it. Let's go and see what our first animal is going to be. What do you think, Craig? Impala, maybe? We're not sure what we're going to see out here. We're definitely going to do a bit of cloud watching later. There's some spectacular clouds forming. So get your creative juices well ready. We're going to zoom across to Brent now, who would love to say good afternoon, or perhaps how do you do?
Good afternoon and how do you do? My name is Brent Smith. I have the fantastic Brian Dubert on camera with his paperboy thumb. Extra, read all about it. The thumb has an announcement, so you're going to have to stay tuned because the announcement's only coming in the last 5 minutes of drive. And of course, Brent, Brian, killer bees! And we're hoping to have an absolutely fantastic drive today. Now, Taylor, you might like to use a guarri bush. However, in my experience, far more effective than a guarri bush, is a good Peltiforum branch. And of course, when beating oneself, one should generally choose the softest, most lovely leaves. Of course, this is also nicknamed the toilet paper tree because of how lovely and soft the leaves are. And so Taylor might like a bit of... Oh, I don't know how to say that. But I prefer beating myself softly rather than whipping myself. Each to their own. Brian thinks that's very funny. But we're going to carry on. As I said, I would have a quick look around for those wild dogs. I think they have gone to the east though. And then I'm going to definitely do some birding. And of course, if you want to chat to us about what we're up to, hashtag Safari Live. And we will definitely try and get back to you. Also, let us know where you're watching from. It's always wonderful to know where you guys are. Now, of course, this time of the day is also great for elephants swimming, so you never know, we might find that. Oh, it is a stunning day. We got to get some more birds, I think. We haven't done one francolin yet. How terrible of us. Ignoring the poor francolins. Okay, but we are checking around for birds. Ooh, Aaron in New Zealand has got a very specific request for birding today, and that is a giant kingfisher. Well, I think we might be in luck around Chitwa Dam a little bit later, and I've got something in store when we get there. I'm not going to ruin the surprise yet. Now, of course, rain, heat equals explosions of stable flies, and those are the little biting flies that are attacking Taylor and myself and Jamie, and they are evil blighters, blood-sucking vermin. Now, of course, you've seen Taylor, who's bumbling about, and I'm also driving. Now, let's go see Jamie, who's trying to find Hosana and Xongile on foot.
Trying to find Hosana and Xongile on foot and at the same time dodging the biting flies. Hey, Dave.
Oh, yes.
Perhaps we should make a custom-built fly swatter as well. All good. A very good afternoon to all of you and welcome to the Sunset Safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon, as you may have gathered, it is Dave on camera with me and Herbie striding ahead in a pair of shorts. It's the first time I have ever seen him wear a pair of shorts. I would introduce you, but he's run away. It's one of those things. He's as eager to find those leopards as we are. So as Brent gave away our game plan for the afternoon, you know that I am on the search for our 2 leopard cubs. And it's worked really well with our bushwalk teams at the moment because it's so thick that essentially your only way of actually seeing where those cubs are is on foot, walking through an area. Now for now, we're staying on the road for one of several reasons. 1, ticks. 2, it's quite windy. It stopped blowing now, and I don't know if you ask Brent or Taylor maybe very nicely, because we don't really have a view, but you should see the storm that is building to the south of us. It's scary looking, isn't it, Dave? There's a little bit there that you can see on our sort of eastern boundary. That's obviously come in first, that's blown in first. But the cumulus clouds that are gathering are some of the biggest I've seen this year. I wonder if it's going to hit us, or if it's going to be another situation where it just goes past us. Taylor McCurdy wants to do some cloud watching later. And what? Presumably decide what shapes they are. I saw she saw an elephant in the clouds the other day. I've always been very bad at that. Somebody's like, I see a crocodile. I see this, I see that. And I'm going, I see nothing. Obviously don't have the same imagination that Taylor has. It's like those Rorschach paintings or drawings, whatever they are. I look at them and go, blob, maybe butterfly if I'm feeling really imaginative and creative that day. There's another big cumulus cloud. And it's starting to break up to the west over the mountains. Sure. Oh, sorry, Dave. I'll just elbow you in the kidney. That's all right. Dave's very forgiving. And I've got sharp elbows. Sorry, Dave. Not as sharp as Kirsty's. That is true. So we're looking at the enormous storm and hoping that it holds off, at least for us, for the next 2 hours. After that, we'll be home and the vehicles can do as they will. Look at that garden orb. Isn't that beautiful? We're starting to see them more and more. We've actually got an entire garden orb web spider here. And I'm going to try and show Dave a bit closer, or get Dave a bit closer. But I don't want to walk him straight into the knobthorn, which I imagine Dave would appreciate as well. Hey, Dave. Nah, Dave's tough and rugged. Oh, and she's running away. Wow, that was fast. Did I touch a web strand? All the way over here. It's possible. They do have incredibly long anchor strands, so I might have. I don't see one though. But she started running as soon as I came around this corner. Okay, Dave, the way in through here is kind of clear. So you might be able to come around this side. But then we can't get any closer, unfortunately, without you diving into the thorns. And there are extreme lengths that we would have our cameraman go to, but not that extreme. So let me try and point. Can you see her there, Dave?
I do see her.
You've got her. There is the gorgeous garden orb spider, as opposed to the golden orb that Dave and I filmed not so long ago. A truly beautiful family of spiders, definitely one of my favorites. Obviously very scary looking, but actually not that scary in real life. They don't have any potent venom that will affect a human being. Look, it probably hurts when they bite you, I've been told. They might have very strong jaws. I got bitten by a small golden orb once. It wasn't that bad. But she is beautiful. And I'm calling her a she because I know she's a she, because she is so much bigger than this poor little chap, who I'm going to try and point out for Dave. This poor little chap, right just above that, in that center portion of her web. Can you find it there, Dave?
I think so.
There. Over here.
Got him.
Got him. That is the male garden orb, bravely hanging out in the center of the female's web, hoping to potentially scrounge a little bit of food, and at the same time, maybe get lucky with her. But of course, getting lucky for male spiders may mean he has a chance to pass on his genes, may also mean he has a chance to become her next meal. And it really is touch and go. Sometimes it's both. It's touch and go for male spiders, and I've seen many of them, when the female comes rushing at them, all of a sudden just bungee jump out of the web itself. There's just one more thing I want to show you here, before we start going to those leopards. This strand down here is very clearly different to the rest of the web. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is it's obviously a very secure, strengthening center strand, or not strand really, it's several, holding together the center of the web. It's also to make the web slightly more visible to large animals. Things like birds, antelope, okay, they're less likely to come through this particular patch, but she doesn't really want to have to rebuild her web every time some hapless creature like us comes bumbling through. And so what she very kindly does is she basically posts a signboard that says, "Do not walk through here." And animals like birds, larger birds, and mammals, antelope that are sort of eye level with that, will see it and go around it. And it really does work. It helps to keep their webs intact. How clever is that? A do not enter sign, basically, to stop herself from having to rebuild the whole thing every time. Now, Jenny, you wanted to know if that's a stinger on the end of her, well, the end of her abdomen. No, she doesn't have any kind of a stinger, but it is basically, I mean, I wish we could turn her around, but I don't want her to run away completely. She basically has serrations on the edge of her abdomen to make her look more intimidating. So they stand out very clearly. It also helps to make her look more like a leaf if she happens to run into some vegetation. So it's not a stinger. Her spinnerets sit just below that, the opening where she makes all of that web. So it's not a stinger. It does look like one though. I can totally see what you mean about that. And since Jenny's just kindly asked us a question, just a brief reminder that you can send through your questions using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. So they say, and I've tried this before, but I've never tried it with an aeroplane. You'll understand what I mean by that in a moment. They say, if you take this golden strand of her web, this sort of, you can't really see it, yeah.
Well,
it's not
slightly.
slightly. The main strand that holds up her web itself. Perfect, thank you, Dave. If you take that strand and you fold it up many times, or if you were able to get it to a thickness of a pencil, you could actually stop a plane from taking off. And I'm talking about not a little biplane, I'm talking about a proper commercial liner. You'd be able to stop it just from that sheer tensile strength. And I've tested it again, obviously not with an aeroplane, but I've tested it before with an abandoned web where I took that and I folded it 5 times, and we tried, all of us, to pull it apart. We tried pulling it apart with another person, wrapping it around our fingers, pulling. It is impossible to break, and it wasn't just me with my pilly little fingers. Some of the guys that we were trying with were big strapping young men trying to pull that spider's web apart, and it just doesn't happen. That tensile strength is so powerful. That, of course, is why they're looking at using it as for Kevlar, for bulletproof vests, something that they're looking into engineering. Spider silk, one of the strongest substances in the world, and they produce it in their bodies. How amazing is that? Now, there's all sorts of powerful creatures out here. Let's go and have a look at some of the most powerful with Taylor.
We do indeed have some of the most powerful creatures, 3 of them to be exact, sitting in a mud wallow, which is wonderful. They're having a little animal bath at the moment. I don't know if I'd want to go and sit in that water, though. It must be very, very stinky. Every now and then we get the odd whiff off of it, and I can tell you it is not pleasant. Though, today, I actually may be tempted in going to sit in that water, because the flies that are bothering me at the moment, or Craig and I, sorry, are a nightmare. But I'd have to have a reed of some sort with a little hole through it so that I could snorkel underneath that water and not put even my head above the surface. You can see the flies are completely covering the buffalo, but if you're underwater, they're not underwater flies, which thank goodness for that, because otherwise, can you imagine not being able to get any relief at all? But the ears are constantly flicking. Every now and then you'll see a mud-soaked tail come out of the water and swat those flies, and also spray a bit of mud over their bodies. But it's not completely submerged. The pans are drying out relatively quickly. I think the best pans that we have on the property are actually the ones at Chele Pan. Not Chele Pan itself, but at Spaghetti Junction there's some mud wallows there that are quite deep, and I think that these 3 Duggar boys would enjoy that quite a bit. But it seems as though they haven't really, they have been spending, a lot of time in the mud. That one's got quite a bit of it caked onto its horns. And you can see how it's dried nicely in the sun, and then it peels off. And just taking a moment just to relax, just to regurgitate all of their food, chew the cud, and then swallow it again. Having a great old day. And then there's one buffalo in the middle that's not actually doing anything but having a siesta, and using this big buffalo bull on the right as a pillow, I suppose. Is that a very comfy pillow that you've got there? It doesn't look very comfortable. I suppose these animals don't know comfy like we as humans know comfy, so they will settle for anything. But this is fantastic, and they've probably been sitting here for most of the day. And they're not particularly old boys. I think the oldest buffalo that we can see here is not this one, but the one that it's resting its head on. If you look at this one's horns, you can see they're a little bit blunt, but not too bad. The ones on the right, though, there's no sharp edges on that at all. So that just tells me that he's been around for many, many years. And that's no good. That makes it very, very difficult if a lion does come around. And he'll be able to fight with a lion, but he won't have that sharp tip to his horn like the buffalo has on the left. You can see how sharp his horns are. And that will hook into a big predator, such as a lion, and cause extreme pain. Definitely would pierce the skin and make them run with their tails between their legs. You wouldn't want that hooked in you. And that's what they do, is often they get lions when they do put their heads down and start throwing their heads up towards the air. They'll get the lions underneath sort of in the armpit. What happened there is the flies were bothering that buffalo, and he obviously tried to shake his head, and then I think he forgot that there was a bit of water there and just stuck his head underneath the water. Normally buffalo won't intentionally submerge their face. That was very funny. And that's what I love about nature, is that it is so raw. There are so many opportunities to just have a good laugh, good giggle. That's amazing. Thank you, guys. You've already made me laugh once. Should we count how many times? Sorry, that was disgusting. That was really terrible. I had a fly, a big fly, and landing on my lip and me closing my other lip on top of it. That was terrible, but I got it out. I caught it and then I threw it away. I'm now going to talk with my hand over my mouth. And I think we should try and count and see how many times nature makes me laugh today. Because that's really what keeps me going out here in the bushes. As most of you know, I like to have a bit of fun. I'm not the most serious person. I enjoy lots and lots of laughter. And you always read these things that say, the more you laugh, the longer you'll live. And I hope that that's the case, because I think I laugh a lot more than the average person. So we're one up. And if you can keep tabs, it'll be great, and you can let me know at the end of the show if you want something to do. Perhaps you want a task to see how many times nature makes us laugh. And it doesn't have to just be me. You can do it with Jamie, you can do it with Brent. You don't have to tell them, though. We won't tell them. We'll just catch them off guard when they start to giggle. I'm sure you'll be surprised to see how many times we laugh. That buffalo did exactly the same thing again and stuck his face underwater. Here we go. Munching. Very, very hungry buffalo. But of course, as the sun goes down a little bit later, and when it cools down, probably in the next hour or so, these buffalo will get out and go and continue grazing for the last little bit of light. And well, that's when it becomes fun for the predators. Now, as we sit here, look at the strategic way that they're sitting. It's quite amazing. You've got the buffalo on the right, he's looking west. The buffalo on the left is looking east, and then there's one that's just taking advantage of his two lookouts and is having a siesta. Now, Dominique, you were actually wondering how good is a buffalo's sense of smell and their eyesight. Their eyesight is not too bad. It's always quite difficult to try and guess, but buffalo often pick you up and spot you from a distance. Their sense of smell is incredible. I think that their sense of smell is much more sensitive. Look at that big schnoz. Isn't that a big nose? And you can see it's wet, so they're healthy. Very much like your dog at home, how you would check to see if your pets are healthy or not. You can do the same thing with a buffalo. And in winter we actually saw a lot of crusty, dried up noses, but that's because they were very, very malnourished. That's not the case anymore. So yes, their sense of smell is pretty good. I would say their eyesight is better than a rhinoceros eyesight, somewhere between a rhino and an elephant's eyesight. So not too bad. But of course, they don't just keep relying on one sense. They use all their senses in conjunction with each other, and it's the same goes with all the animals. Is, for instance, an elephant with its super sensitive sense of smell may pick up a scent. Then what it does is it will turn its body toward, and the same thing goes with the buffalo. It may hear something or smell something. It then will face its body towards where that scent or sound or wherever it spots something is coming from, and they will stare, and then they'll use their other senses with whichever is their favorite, the hearing, sense of smell all together, and then by doing that, then they're then able to identify, that is a lion that is coming. Because sometimes this light can be a little bit terrible. I thought I heard maybe some elephants, but it's not. I think it's just the wind rustling some leaves. Is that if a buffalo, for instance, at dusk, that terrible tricky light, it's fading, it's hard to see. You know what it's like for us. They're staring in the distance. They can sort of see something moving around. It could be a kudu, it might be a lion, not sure. And then that's when their hearing and their sense of smell will come into play. So I suppose it depends also at different times during the day. Buffalo, you have been wonderful. Thank you for making me giggle and providing a game with us this afternoon. Kirsten's asking me what is in the hand. You know, I'm putting studying on, Kirst, if you must know. That was a bottle of sun cream in my hand just before I got here. I was applying some more because the sun is very strong and I don't want to burn my sensitive skin. But I put it down now, Kirst. I've stopped fiddling. Oh, an oxpecker's joined the party. Hello, oxpecker. You're a bit late. 2 oxpeckers, an adult and a juvenile. You can see the one on the right is still lacking the pigment around the eye and on the bill. It will only get that in a couple months' time. Now, it's just the 2 of them, which is unusual. Normally, you'll see mom and dad and then a couple of offspring, but perhaps they're just a bit far behind in feeding on a couple of other animals. Oh, there's grasshopper just jumped on my shirt and then it left me. And they'll love this. They're not just going to feed off of this buffalo now. They will utilize it to drink water as well. And I think it's one of the funniest things to do. And if you are a photographer, it's probably one of the more interesting shots, I suppose you could call it, that you could get of a oxpecker dangling off a buffalo, preferably on the tip of its nose, holding on for dear life, stretching down and taking a sip of water. Hello. And this little one, this juvenile, will learn, it will mimic the behavior of the adults, and eventually it'll learn everything that it needs to. Hi guys. It's a bit hot today. That might be something to look for, and I'm sure Brent will hopefully be looking for the same thing, seeing as though he's going to be doing a bit of birding, is to perhaps try and find some birds that are having a water bath. We saw that red-billed hornbill having a dust bath yesterday. Maybe we'll find some Cape glossy starlings. Those are my favorite birds to watch and have a bath. They're usually not too shy, and they're comfortable with the vehicles, and if they do splash about properly, it really is quite a sight. So we'll check a couple of puddles today for something along those lines. And then don't forget, I'm watching and waiting for a cloud as well to start developing that looks like something. You can't just make this stuff up. You've just got to, of course, stare into the distance and look at something first time around and hope that it looks like something. But nothing yet, just normal clouds so far. But we're going to move off from these buffalo now. We're going to go searching around and see what else we can find. We're going to look for the starlings, of course. I'm going to send you across to Jamie, who's also found herself near a watering hole.
A water hole mercifully devoid of buffalo. Unfortunately, devoid of leopard cubs as well, at least as far as I can see. So this is the pan where Xongile and Hosana were last seen on this morning's sunrise safari. Dave, I just had the weirdest image of you falling into that pan as you walked. It was such a weird image. I could just see it happening in my mind's eye. So this is where they were. They love this pan. Hosana used to like to hide under that buffalo thorn. He can't anymore because that's where the water level is. But it's a really picturesque spot. There's a beautiful big shady jackalberry combined with a boerbean, which produces the best shade in the business, we know, because we've sat there many times watching the cubs enjoy their shade. So they're here somewhere. Xongile's tracks go towards, there's a whole series of pans around this area. That seep line that you saw or that actual seep, that spring, coming up through from Treehouse Dam with Steph on this morning's sunrise safari, that's all connected to this area and this particular seep line. So there's pans that go all the way up to the north of us. That's where we've seen the bullfrogs and their chaotic mating, and then the tadpoles trying to crawl out of them. And then there's these two pans here. And Xongile's tracks are next to invisible, but they go that way. I'm going to take Herbie's word for it because he's the one who saw them originally. They go towards that second pan. We're just checking around to see whether Hosana's not watching us from the shade. I have no doubt he is watching us. I think both of them probably did watch us walk right past. Let's go and just check the junction, because Karula went south over to Little Gowrie, and she might have come back to collect them, although Herbie went in that direction earlier, so I think he would have let us know. And just to explain to our new viewers, when you do meet Herbie, when he hasn't disappeared, Herbie basically accompanies us for security purposes, but also just to help us find things. But when we're talking to you, particularly at the moment when the grass is so long, you saw, those buffalo could be lying in that pan. When we're talking to you, we're taking your questions, we're listening with one ear. Obviously, we're not paying as much attention as we should be. So what Herbie does is he goes ahead of us and he makes sure that we're not about to walk into something dangerous. He just makes us aware of their presence. Now, I'm checking very carefully in the road here for tracks. Usually when our leopard cubs cross, or our leopards full stop, the royal family, they walk straight down the middle of this junction. That's not to say they'll always do it, but it does become, especially now with the grass this long, it becomes quite a nice predictable pattern. And it's nice to have predictable patterns with leopards, because we don't usually have that, do we, Dev? Just want to check if it's just a funny growth on the marula tree, or if it's a leopard cub. No. Oh, it's Herbie behind us. How did you do that, Herbie? There we go. So there's Herbie, everybody. And Herbie, whoever, hello. Herbie, we're just introducing you and explaining how you help us.
And the lovely shorts.
And the lovely shorts. The lovely shorts and the nice gaiters. But no blue suede shoes, Herbs. No blue suede shoes today. Herbie has the best smile of any man ever, hands down, flat out. And now we're embarrassing him, shame. Did they cross?
No.
No, that's good.
And let's go straight to the quarry.
Cool.
We'll come back.
Perfect. Oh God, I just choked on some panicum. I'm fine, thanks. It's my fault for chewing on panicum seeds while I'm trying to talk at the same time. They taste like oats, you see. So it's basically like having handy granola bars spread out for you along your path. You can just grab a little bit and eat it. But sometimes you get the parts of the plant, the sort of the fibers of the plant, and that's what I managed to inhale while speaking to you. I'm fine, don't worry about me. I'd show you panicum grass, but now of course because I said that there isn't any, which is very sad because I've just finished my lunch. There we go. That's panicum grass for our new viewers. Try to get it out of my shade.
Into the sun, yeah.
Yes. I'm very glad I didn't eat that one, Dave. Do you know why? There's a spider web on it. Oh my goodness, indeed. I'm very glad I did not eat these seeds. So that's what I choked on. Okay. Is that oxpeckers or helmet shrikes? Helmet shrikes. You won't be able to see them. And the reason I'm listening is it's very important when we're out here to listen to the warning sounds of the bush. Oxpeckers, you saw with Taylor, sit on buffalo. Look, they also sit on Impala and Inyala and giraffe. But when you hear oxpeckers, particularly in large numbers, it pays to just be a little bit more cautious. So where we're going now is a quarry, where they used parts of the soil to spread across the roads. So there's a sort of a dugout bit. The leopards love it. It's like going to, I don't know if any of you ever did this as a kid, I certainly did. It's like going to a building site as a child and playing around in the half-built building and playing in the piles of sand. It's kind of like that for the leopard cubs. They've got a really nice place to run around and practice their skills, which Hosana and Xongile love to do. There's a tree there, Dave. Poor Dave has got a 2-meter antenna above his head. Work those legs, Dave. Well done, Dave. And that's the way that we bring you the bushwalk signal, is by Dave carrying a backpack with a very large antenna that sticks up above. But it does mean that's the other thing that we're looking for, is to make sure that our poor cameramen don't have to walk through something low and overhanging. Sorry about that, Dave. I apologize. Okay. Now Herbie says they haven't crossed here. Let's make our way slowly but surely to the quarry. I hope they haven't disappeared into the drainage. We are going to scour this area for our leopard cubs. I want to spend more time with them on foot, so I'm excited. But while we do that, Brent has travelled all the way to the far east. Not that far, but to Cheetah Plains. Let's go and find out if it is teeming with life.
Well, we're hoping to have a big birding bonanza, the killer bees big birding bonanza, starting on Cheetah Plains, working our way west back towards Chitwa. Now, there's quite a few bird species that we are missing. I'm hoping to get an Namakwa dove while we're down here. Ooh, small brown job, top of the tree. You get him, Brian? Turning around to face us. What have we got there? Oh, not such a small brown job. It's a golden-breasted bunting, and that is one that is not on our list so far. Lovely, lovely, lovely way to start the birding bonanza on Cheetah Plains. Now, often there are other birds around, so we just want to have a careful look before we move on. Now, of course, there are seed eaters, the buntings, and they must be loving this long grass, and lots of panicum seeds and Arathusa seeds and all sorts for them to eat. B for bunting. Now also, one of the other buntings, the other bunting we get here is the cinnamon-breasted bunting, and they are actually, we see them quite regularly on Cheetah Plains as well, around 3 in a row pan. Now, Brian and I are very excited to be down here because we are the only people on Cheetah Plains. Isn't that exciting? We've got this whole area to ourselves. Brown crown chagra. Boop. Hello, brown crown chagra. Jump. Oh, there we go. Lovely! See, this birding bonanza is starting with a bang. 2 species. The first 2 species we see are species we haven't got on the list yet. T for chagra. Now, of course, chagras are related to the shrikes, and they are quite little skulkers. You see him top of the tree. This could be a... Okay, just zoom. He's there, a little bit to the right. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Very interesting call as well. Oh. That's a good, I think that's a good quiz bird, don't you? I think it's time to test your birding knowledge with an LBJ. If you know the answer to what this funny little brown job is, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Very distinct call. So cool. Yeah, that... Now I can hear a little tit babbler as well somewhere around. That is not a tit babbler, but that's going to be really hard to spot because they are often in the tops of trees. I just want to get a safety shot with my camera so we can have a look at the ID features once someone clever IDs it. Oh, I think he gave himself away there. Look at the legs. Look at the color of the legs. Okay, well, let's leave the little LBJ while you ponder what it is. We're going to keep moving. Ooh, Taylor's got a bird that's not on my list yet, so let's go see what it is.
Sadly, Brent is no longer with us anymore. I think it's Craig. If you go to the left a little bit, oh no, its head was popping out just over there. There it is. Hallelujah. I was worried we weren't going to see it. It is a Coqui francolin, and it is quite a special francolin. I think it's one of the most special francolins to see out here in the bush. And it is a male, the one that was looking at us, and you can see the female that has just popped up at the back. And hopefully he'll make his call for us again, or reveal himself, because he's beautifully colored. But the call that he was giving off is a territorial call. So I think he's just alerting everybody that this is his area. I'm going to just reposition and see if we can get a view of them, because they are really lovely. Now I'm just at the fireside chat. That's why there's all those fallen logs there. This is the fireside chat. You can't hide from me. Where are you? I will get him. Where are you? There he is. You see? There he's just popping his head up. Well spotted, Craig. Beautiful coloration compared to the female with that sort of mustardy orange coloured head. I don't know what colour that is, but perhaps somebody's got a way to describe the colour of the Coqui francolin's head, and you are welcome to let us know. I'm always looking to add to my colour palette, hashtag Safari Live, with what colour you think best describes the head of a male Coqui francolin. But at least he had a female around here, so he wasn't courting, he wasn't doing his courtship call, which is typically that Coqui, Coqui, Coqui call that you'll normally hear. So they've obviously been mating. Perhaps they've got a nest somewhere. This wouldn't be actually a very bad nesting site. Lots of fallen logs around here, which would help save them. Okay, Jamie says that burnt orange is the description that she would use to describe the colouring of a Coqui francolin. Kirst, what is yours? Yes, yeah, Kirst has always got the best answers. Let's see if her colour palette is on form. Oh, Kirsten's got to think. Okay, well, Kirsten, we'll give you a few minutes to have a think. Now, you must remember this spot because I've come here very, very often. And I thought we would do something this afternoon that we haven't done for quite some time. We have had many new viewers joining us for the year of 2017. So thank you for your support and welcome. Now, you've only seen the property when it's nice and green after we've had all of this rain. I just want to shock you to show you as to how dry it was. So for all our older, more experienced viewers that have been watching for quite some time now, please can you take a screenshot of this lovely view? Remember the termite mound in the right hand corner and pair it up with a shot from one of the first days that we started doing this. So when it was really bare. So I suppose, can't even remember when we did start doing it, but we did it for quite some time. I think it was November, maybe even earlier, October. We started doing screenshots, and we'd love to just have a look and, like I said, and show everybody else, because I think people will be completely shocked when they see something like this, and compared to how green it actually is. The grass is so nice and tall. Even at the beginning of the year when we started to have all the rain, the grass didn't get to this length. It has really taken that extra 100 mils that I think we've had to get it to this point. So we look forward, of course, to seeing all of those screenshots. Hashtag Safari Live with all of them, so that anybody that is chatting about will be able to see them quite easily. Right, that we've checked off of the list. We're still looking for starlings that are bathing in water. Ooh. So we've got a few answers coming through for the best described colour for the Coqui Franklin's head, or the male Coqui Franklin. Yes and Val, you have both said mango. Oh, the mango coloured Coqui Franklin. Very nice. I like mango. I think that's actually a very good way to describe the coloration of the feathers there. It's an interesting colour. Like I said, to me it's mustard orange. That's not very creative. And Kirst, have you thought of yours yet? Oh, I think Kirst might have the winner. Kirst has said her coloration description is caramel treat. I think that's lovely, isn't it? Very, very nice. And I like to play these little games and things like that. But actually, while we're here and we've got a good view on the distance, look at this. Look at these clouds. They are massive, really, really big. Sort of starting to form that mushroom effect, and this is one of about 6 that are forming in the sky at the moment. They are really, really big. I don't know if we're going to get any rain just yet though. It's still quite windy, which means that the clouds could move in a lot quicker. You can see, look at them, they're mushrooming and just heading straight up into the air. And it's actually really pretty to watch something like this. And I don't know if any of you have ever done a time lapse of a storm coming in. That must be one of the most pretty things to see, especially if there's lightning and stuff forming in the distance. It's really, really beautiful. Oh wow, Craig, it's like cotton candy. And this is one of my dreams as a kid, was to skydive out of an aeroplane and then land on a cloud, because when I was little I thought that they were completely solid. Now that I'm a sort of a grown-up, I know that this is not true, and I would not bounce around in those lovely fluffy clouds. I would fall straight through them to my death if I didn't have a parachute. So we won't be doing that, but we'll keep watching the clouds as we go about for any interesting ones, of course. Over there, nothing jumps to mind just yet. Ah, okay. So B, who is an old guest of mine, not an old guest of mine, but B and her husband actually got married, and I was the ring bearer. Can you believe that? It was so cool, it was so amazing to be a part of their wedding. On the reserve, it was the most spectacular and glamorous. She looked beautiful. It was really quite lovely, and I got to be a part of that, so thank you for that. So B, you've said that rust color is also another word you could use to describe the color of a male Coqui Franklin's head. That's also lovely. So thank you, all of you who have sent through or taken the time out to think of a color. I really do appreciate it. I will be using them. They're now added to my color palette. I like the caramel treat. That was really good, and I've also very much enjoyed the mango color. And I can't say mango normally, because there was a television ad in South Africa. It was the funniest thing for a cool drink, like a cordial that you would add water to, and they would sing the different flavors, and each flavor had a different voice, and it was what? Do you remember that, Craig? You remember what I'm talking about? And they would start off by going, oh, and then mango, fruit cocktail, oh. O was for orange. But yes, and it was very funny, and these fruits were bobbing up and down, and they had all different ones, and everybody had a different voice. And I'll never forget, it was like the greatest thing at school, especially in primary school, if you could come to school and you could recite all the different voices and in the exact order. There must have been about 12 or 15 different flavors or something ridiculous, but they used to sing them all. It was lots of fun. Very silly, but that was just a little memory that popped up into my head. It was nice. It's a little reminiscing session. My little tongue twisted there. Craig, let's go on your favorite road. This is Craig's favorite road, Zoe. Why is it your favorite road? It is your favorite road because every time we drive here, you always say to me, Taylor, please can we drive on Zoe's? It's probably not Craig's favorite road. It just sounded more interesting. Craig, it's the same thing as calling the head of the Cokie Franklin rather than just saying yellow, saying mango or one of those colors. You got to tell a better story, I suppose. Well, that's what my dad always taught me. But yeah, you know what? Things dads dads say. That's probably a hashtag somewhere, and I reckon you could have a chuckle at something like that. Now Brent is birding, Jamie's looking for leopards, we're looking for bathing birds and interesting clouds. Maybe we'll go to Arathusa a little bit later. I don't want to shoot onto the property right now because I know that it's always super busy for the first 2 hours of drives, all the vehicles cycling through, the lion sightings. You see the guests are arriving in the afternoon. Now well, pretty much every time in a lodge. So this could be a new set of guests' first safari, and it would be so exciting for guests to see something like a lion, whereas we really want to see them getting up and moving around a bit. So we're going to keep searching and probably start heading that way a little bit later. But I'm going to send you across to Jamie, and she's got something. She won't tell us what it is, so you're just going to go and have to take a look.
I'm pretty sure you can guess exactly what we've got. A really stunning surprise for all of you, and in such a perfect position. Kind of pretty much where we expected them to be. I'm relatively certain that we're looking at Hosana over there. This looks like it might be. It's hard to see across the light reflecting off the pan. I'm just standing up ever so slightly. It looks like Hosana to me, from what I can see. Let me come and look over Dave's shoulder. How's your view there, Dave? You want to come this side? The water is reflecting the light quite powerfully across at us. But look how gorgeous that is. And not bothered in the slightest. Sorry, Dave, I'm trying to see who it is. Who's that, Kirsty? I can't see with the light reflecting. Looks like Hosana to me, surely, unless Xongile has suddenly grown. No, hold on. That head just lifted up. Yo. Should come. Herbie's saying we can go round. Let's go round. This is so special. Gosh, we are lucky. Should we come round here, Dave? Hello, my boy. Hey. You see, it's okay. It's okay. Now, Hosana is slightly less confiding than Xongile, but it's nice to have him on foot as well. He takes a little bit longer to relax. I'm just going to move that so we don't make too much noise. So he knows we're here, and what we're doing is known as presenting ourselves. And Dave, if what you can do is come here, and we can actually sit on the termite mound so that we're not as prominent. Hopefully Xongile is not lying on the other side, Herbs. Is it Xongile? Yeah, it does look like she's got quite a small head. Hello, my girl. I can't tell who it is with this bright light reflecting across the water. I'm not 100% sure. That head looks a bit small for Hosana at this side. From this angle. No, surely that's Xongile. Gosh, she's grown. Hey, sweet girl. Herbie's nodding. He confirms it's Xongile. Gosh, she's got big. She's got so big. That means her brother is somewhere around here watching us, probably. Look at that. Fast asleep. We've been so lucky with these leopard cubs. They have been so confiding in us, And these next few weeks are going to be our last opportunity to do this. We won't be able to spend this time with them when they're adults. This behavior will change completely, and they'll become a completely different kettle of fish, just like our hyena cubs. Oh, see how comfortable she is with us. Personally, I've never ever had a connection like I have with these leopard cubs, just in terms of the time I've spent with them and the way that we spend time with them. Now, Joy, you want to know why is it okay to be on foot with leopards or lions? Joy, it very much depends upon the situation. So if it is a situation where you're walking around at night, it's not okay. You'll die. But it's okay with lions. You never push it. You try to find them on foot. You track them on foot. I have actually spent time with lions comfortably on foot where there's a nice, safe position for us to be in. And they don't actually mind you too much because they don't feel threatened in any way. I know that a lot of people have expressed, no fly, now's not the time. This is profound. Don't want to be interrupted by a fly up my nose. I know a lot of people have expressed a sort of worry that we're going to habituate them and that's going to place them at risk. Not here. Fortunately, not in this particular area. There's no threats to leopards or lions by poachers in this particular spot. They're the most protected. These are probably the safest animals you can find in Africa. They're so very, very safe. And when poaching does happen, it doesn't happen by people moving through and approaching them like this in broad daylight on foot. It's an entirely different scenario. So it's okay, provided you know what you're doing and provided you don't abuse it. And remember, we've been doing this for years and years. So there's a lot of signs that we're looking for, even subconsciously, although I can tell you a few of them. Obviously, if she was showing any signs of discomfort now, I would be moving us all out, calling the vehicles in, which we will do. But it is something that's not bothering her at all. And it really just emphasizes and I actually hope dispels this idea that leopards and lions are just savage, unthinking creatures, because they're clearly not. And it's easier for you to understand the fact that when we say that we're not on their menu, we're not on their menu. We might be, if it were at night, absolutely, or for an badly injured leopard, but that would happen regardless of whether or not we walk them in the way that we do in the middle of the day. It won't change their behavior. The only time a leopard is really, really dangerous is when it's injured and it's sick, and it can be the wildest leopard in the planet, and that is when it becomes dangerous. It will start to frequent human habitation areas because that's inevitably where they find the easiest access to food. This is so stunning. She's just completely unconcerned. Now, Rita, you say, why are leopards always alone? Where is their family? She's actually probably not. In fact, I have no doubt somewhere around here, possibly sneaking up towards us, behind us, hey Herbie, is her brother Hosana. But leopards are by nature solitary. They are solitary cats. That is just how they are. That's how they've evolved to be. The only time you will find them together, really, with limited exceptions, is if it's a female mating with a male or if it is a family. Now, we usually see this particular leopard, she's 13 months old, we usually see her with her brother Hosana and with her mother Karula, and that's because they are just over a year old, so they're not ready to become independent yet. They're still dependent on their mum. That's why I say these are the last few chances that we have to actually do this, to actually spend time with them, because soon they're going to start becoming adults, they're going to start becoming independent, and they're going to move off, possibly outside of an area that we can follow them, which is something that is sad to contemplate, but at the same time joyful that we've still got to have these experiences to look back on. So leopards are naturally solitary. They're not like lions. You don't get a pride of leopards. You get a leap of leopards. Hey, Taylor. You get a leap of leopards all together. I'm actually wondering whether the other one might not be... Oh, its sun is blinding. Might not be in the shade as well. Just behind her, possibly. I thought I saw a flash of movement. Not sure, though. Where's the clouds when you need them, Dave? I know, it's very bright. But look at this. You can see the leopard is not concerned by us at all. Some people are also worried that they will then disperse to an area where they might be poached if we habituate them like this on foot. They're not going to be like this when they're adults. We won't ever be able to do this once they're fully grown. When they're ready to disperse, it could be Hosana. I really can't. Honestly, Dave, can you see that? Show them the reflection on the water. I can see a pile of spots lying down there. Shall I come have a look on your side, Dave? Sorry, Herbie. We're all doing shifting round on the termite mound. We're playing pass the parcel. That little nick out of the ear. Is that a nick out of its left ear, Kirst? I think it is Hosana. I think it might be Hosana, Herbs. Yeah, got a little nick out of his right ear. And thank you to Hey It's Me, who's pointed out the black under its eye. I'm basically now leaning my head on poor Dave's chest and completely obscuring his view of his shot, to try and see. And Hey It's Me says you can see the bow tie and the black under his eye. Hosana has a nick on his ear that I think I can see on this ear in front of me, at the top there. His brother Quarantine, interestingly enough, also has a nick out of his ear, a little notch. I think it's the other ear though. Oh, Dave, I'm starting to get jealous of this leopard cub in that nice shady spot. Herbie, do you think if we went round that side, if we go round to that side and sit near the water, with this cover over the grass? No, it's fine. We can put up with the light in our eyes, can't we, Dave? For time spent with a leopard cub on foot. I'm going to be very sad when we don't have these cubs anymore, Dave. It's going to be devastating. It's hard to imagine them setting aside their cub-like ways and moving off, and potentially never seeing each other again, in the case of Hosana and Xongile. He's so sleepy. He's absolutely fast asleep. Herbie's making me laugh. We're distracted now. We're standing on the termite mound. We're all crushed together on the termite mound. And there's a pair of ants that are playing. Herbie, your laugh's infectious. Can you get these, Dave? They're playing tug of war. They're not working very well as a team at all. One's got one end of whatever it is that they want, the other's got the other end, and the slightly smaller ant is being dragged along. Sorry, Dave. Sorry. There we go. Can you see them there? Doesn't help that the end of my grass is blowing in the wind. You got him. I'm sorry, I know we have a leopard cub on foot, but at the same time, Herbie started to laugh and then I started to laugh. Because they're not working well as a team at all. They keep going backwards and forwards. And we're going to enjoy a little bit more time spent with Hosana since he's being so obliging. In the meantime, Cheetah Plains has got some amazing general game. Let's go and have a look.
Well, we're out on the southern open area. There's a lovely herd of zebra. But we saw Gnorman, the Gnu, and he's got some girlfriends! Yay for Gnorman! There he is, standing up. It looks like him standing up. It's a bit far for us to see. Oh, that zebra looked like it escaped from a lion. You see that, Brian? Yeah. It's got a big rip in its bottom. That could actually just be a bite from another zebra. But Gnorman's got some girls, and of course, wildebeest have a very similar rutting season to Impala, so they're going to start all their shenanigans shortly in the month of March going into May. Oh, what is that in that far away distance? It is a cheetah stump, not a cheetah. We've seen, that's I think our third cheetah stump with this grass. Oh, we've got some little seed eaters flying. I'm going to see where they land. Where are you going, birdies? Not stopping. I don't think we're going to get an idea. I think they were quailias, but we're not going to count that. Now, of course, the last time we saw the cheetah was disappearing in that direction. Well done to James, who got it spot on. That mystery bird atop of the tree was indeed a rattling cisticula. Okay, now come on, cheetah. Brian says he hasn't seen cheetah in ages, over a year. So we're looking for cheetah very carefully at the moment, hoping to find one reclining in the shade. Oof, it's windy here, which isn't great for our bird challenge. What do we got there? A little flock of something fighting the wind. Again, difficult to see. Let's see if they land. Oh, still fighting the wind. No, they're not stopping. They're a bit too far away for us. Well, we're just going to keep moving slowly through here. And you must always... Oh, I can hear a bird that's not on my list. A Swanson's spurfowl making a racket, and of course we're surrounded by the monotonous call of the monotonous lark. Where is that spurfowl that was calling? It sounded like it's underneath that big acacia there. Quack, 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 quack. Okay, where is this Franklin? Now, of course, in certain parts of Africa, you get red-billed quailias in their millions, and they're the most numerous bird species in the world. James was wondering, how did they become so successful? Well, James, they found a niche, and they really just took over. They outcompete by just being a sheer mass of numbers. So even though they might have competition from other seed eaters, there's no seed eater that moves around in flocks of that size, which enables them to completely dominate. So they will go through an area. It's our fourth cheetah stump. Oh, is that a fifth cheetah stump as well? Yes, indeed. Cheetah stump number 5. Oh, I heard that spurfowl, did you? Quack, 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 quack. Not the nicest call, but a nice bird. Normally, they'll try to call from somewhere where they can be quite exposed. Don't worry, James, I haven't forgotten about the quailias. So it's just that sheer massive numbers that enables them to do that. And there, it landed, damn it, took off and landed in the grass. We're not going to see him from here. That spurfowl somewhere there. Come on, pop your head up, Swansons. Oh, grass is too long. We're going to have to keep moving. But so just by having that sheer massive numbers, they're able to outcompete other things. And also because they are mobile, I mean, they will migrate depending on the rains to different areas. The biggest flock of quailias I've seen is probably about 2 million. I mean, they actually sort of darken out the sky as they fly over. Saw that in a place called Lake Ngami in Botswana. This wind is not good for our birding challenge, Brian, but we shall persevere. Also check if there's any cheetah or sign of Mr. Q. Okay, we're just going to have a look around this corner. This is the corner where the Namakwa doves like to sit. So are we going to be lucky with a Namakwa dove? If not, we're going to go and see Jamie, who's still on foot with those leopards. No dove, so off to Jamie.
We've shifted around to try and get a better view of Hosana, but at this point, his comfort levels with us are so great that he's fast asleep and invisible. Hey Dave, not ideal. Now there are lots of vehicles that want to come and see him, so as much as I would love to spend the rest of the afternoon sitting by the side of a pan with a leopard cub in front of me, I feel as though that might actually be just a little bit selfish. So what we're going to do is we're going to call Taylor in and any of the other vehicles that want to see. Was it just Taylor, Herbs, for now? Okay, so we've got a little bit longer while we wait for Taylor to get here. And then as soon as we start to hear a vehicle, then we'll move out. And what I want to do, and I know that it's made Dave's life a little bit difficult, because at this point he's perched on the edge of this termite mound, looking as though at any second he's going to tumble forward into the water, which would not impress our tech team. Or David. But I was actually just waiting, because I know Hosana's going to get up and move relatively shortly. It's quite nice and cool this afternoon. Although the sweat dripping down Dave's face belies that particular. It's been getting cooler in the evenings quickly, let's put it that way. So I know that he's going to start to get up and move because he's watching us, he's curious. And we've seen that natural curiosity at work with Hosana especially. Xongile is just comfortable with us. Hosana is less comfortable, he requires a bit more space. But he's more curious about what we're doing. And that's just naturally a male leopard cub thing. They like to do interesting things, they like to keep themselves entertained, and they like to come bolting out and stalk things, whether it's buffalo or elephant. Now Liz, you want to know if it's the first time with these cubs on foot. Liz, it's not. The first time I did it live was with Hosana in a tree off Twin Dams. That was when we went racing following the alarm calls. But every now and again, to keep ourselves entertained, we do go and spend a bit of time with the cubs when we're not on air as well. We're at a distance, but just sitting with them and enjoying their company, because it gives us this connection that sometimes in a weird way, not to get too deep about things, but in a weird way, sometimes I feel like we lose it a little bit. We're so busy thinking about all of the questions and the comments and the voices in our ears and talking to camera and eye contact and all of that. Sometimes I feel like we almost become disconnected because we're so busy watching the animals through our monitors in the vehicles to see what you're seeing that when we're live, we're hardly ever looking at the animal at all, unless the animal's doing something and we need to watch what they're doing, or the situation around us. But we don't actually focus, and that's a dual thing. It's a good and a bad, because we've noticed things, Brent and I were talking about this, we've noticed physical features of leopards, lions, buffalo that we never even would have noticed before. We've become so good at spotting those little details. But at the same time, it's like being a photographer and forgetting to look at what you're actually photographing. You know what I mean, Dave? You must know what I mean as a cameraman. So to come out and to spend time away from doing these live shows, not that we don't want to share those moments with you, but just because we sometimes need to be out on our own out here. So no, it's not my first time. And I would quite happily spend the entire afternoon here if it were up to me. We could just sit, Dave admittedly not as comfortably as myself. But what we're going to do is we're going to sit and wait patiently for Taylor to get to us. However, she has been waylaid by something very large and thankfully not in this pan.
We are watching the ripples of a very angry hippopotamus. It's the same hippopotamus that you saw with Brent on the sunrise safari, and hopefully it will pop up because Craig is able to get the most fantastic shot. I don't think it will stay down for too long, but it was under the water, or it had its ears and its nose popped up, and you can see that bit of the shade that is being cast by the leadwood tree. So that's really the only shade that this hippo's got, with relatively decent sort of a depth of water. And it's going to come up now. You can see the ripples are coming. And then he moved closer towards us, as if to say, just sort of a warning, hey, this is my dam. Don't you even think about coming in here and taking it from me. And we've been seeing that a lot, which I don't know why they're behaving like this, because of the amount of water that's around. Normally they'll be a lot more relaxed. There he is. Oh, and he's got some Impala coming to join him too. He's probably going to look towards him now because they're running at him. There we go. See how he's turned his attention towards the Impala? See, look at him. He's moving. He's not a very happy hippopotamus. Don't be so unhappy with us. He did give us a snort. I gave him a snort back. He wasn't very impressed by that. The Impala then started snorting. It was a snort off. It was terrible. There he is. Impala. It was very funny. Now all we need him to do is just carry on pivoting around, because he's like a ballerina now. You see that he's doing synchronized swimming. Come on, look at us, so we can get that awesome shot. It was the angriest looking hippopotamus I've ever seen. But he's watching the Impala at the moment, and I wonder if the Impala actually come down and have a drink, if he will move towards them to try and chase them away. Here he goes. He's going to turn. Are you ready, Craig? Almost. Ready, steady, go. And there he goes. Now he looks happy. Now he actually looks pleasant. He doesn't look too sad at all. And where's Henry gone? I'm really missing Henry. Henry was quite easy to tell the difference between, because he had that big gash on his back. But also, we haven't seen Henry for months, so it'll be quite difficult to tell whether it is him, seeing as though they don't often submerge their backs, push their backs out of the water with all the water that's in the dams at the moment. It makes it a little bit difficult. I'm going to reverse a little bit. Actually, no, I think he might turn and look at us now. Let's go back. Let's get in line with him again so we can get that cool shot we had. Yes, now he watches us. There we go. Don't go under. Just stay for a little bit longer. Just literally poking the top of his eyes above the water, but he can hear us. They've actually got hairy ears. I didn't realize that. Look at all that hair on the edge of their ears. That's interesting. They don't have too much hair on their bodies, a hippo. It's just around their tails, really. Hello, beautiful boy, and most definitely a male hippo, all on his own like this, and acting territorial. So Zaz, you're wondering why hippos cannot swim. It's actually really, really interesting. I think it's just got to do with their size, and they don't seem to. No, they've got a lot of buoyancy. Like we see hippos swimming, not hippos. We see elephants swimming very well, and I've seen some amazing footage of the way that hippos swim. Whether they were, actually I don't know where this footage was taken, but it was glass, and you could see it was Indian elephants, it wasn't African elephants, and you could see them swimming completely submerged, just their trunks sticking up above the water. But they sort of tread water. It's almost like they're running, but underwater, and that keeps that momentum going. Hippos, why can't you swim? Well, come on, open your mouth now. Don't tempt us like that. They don't seem to move their legs quick enough, and maybe it's got something to do with the shape of their feet. They've also got tiny little legs too, whereas an elephant's leg is quite long if you think about it in relation to the rest of its body, whereas a hippo's got these short stubby things, so perhaps they just can't generate enough movement that allows them to propel themselves forward. So they sink to the bottom of the water, and then they walk. And then sometimes when the water's deep like this, is they're actually standing on their back toes. Their bottom is sort of facing lower down than their head. Repeat, you're wondering how long can Hippo stay in the water? Let's watch him, because I think he might open his mouth for us, which will be wonderful. His mouth is water, and sometimes do open their mouths. He did a very half-hearted attempt as he went under. So sorry, Repeat, you're wondering how long can a hippo stay in the water? Underneath the water, they can hold their breaths for about 6 minutes or so, not much more than that. And they spend about, it depends also the area, they spend generally most of the day, at least 3/4 of their day in water, and then at night they come out to graze. But in Zambia, you'd see the complete opposite. I reckon in Zambia, especially in the Lower Zambezi National Park, the hippos were spending only maybe about 50% of their day in the water. So normally mid-morning when it's exceptionally hot, but early hours of the morning and later in the afternoon when the sun is not so harsh, you very often see them out grazing. But you see there, the vegetation becomes very, very scarce as well. I suppose quite similar to what we have out here. But the hippos have got to walk kilometers and kilometers to find grazing from the Zambezi River. And during the winter months, there is not a drop of rain. They get towards the end of the year, they start to get their rains, and then it normally finishes at about March, end of February, halfway through March, and then the camps open again in April. And they've got to move quite a bit. So you often, just as the rainy seasons are ending, you see those hippos out every single day trying to put on as much weight as I suppose they can in preparation for the harsh times. So our animals don't quite bulk eat like you see bears and things doing that hibernate, but they will eat a sufficient amount, because coming into the winter months when there isn't much food around, they lose a lot of condition very quickly. So you can imagine if you haven't picked up weight when there is a lot of vegetation around, you are going to struggle in the winter months. And we've seen that with the hippos, and definitely the buffalo. It is very, very, very sad. And I'm quite happy, and I hope that this rain does continue for quite some time so that we have a better chance of having a lot more grass throughout winter. Come on, open your mouth. He keeps going underwater and sort of opening. There he is. He's having a little play now. See, yay! Go Hippo. We were just saying that. Thank you so much, Hippopotamus, for doing that for us. We waited quite some time as he bobbed about. Let's see, he might do it again. He's being quite playful now. You need some friends. You need some ladies, I think. Is that all you've got for us? I think that means yes. I think he's saying, right, that is the show that I've put on for you. Thank you very much. Pay your money and off you go now. And well, speaking of off we go, I think we're going to go and try and follow up on those leopards. We're going to head towards where Jamie was and see if we can find them. And I'm going to send you across to Brent, who's all the way in Cheetah Plains doing all sorts of birding.
Well, not only are we birding, we're desperately searching for a cheetah for Brian. So far, no such luck, Brian. But it is absolutely gorgeous down here with the skies and the green grass and the clouds building. Here we go. I'm going to do one last gander down towards the Kruger boundary, and then we're going to head towards Chitwa. See what's happening there. Maybe we'll get some luck with Tundi and Tamba, or we are definitely going to go to the dam. I've been trying to get there and we just keep getting sidetracked. Crystal, hello. Crystal's wondering how many cheetah roam in Cheetah Plains. Well, we see 2 males regularly, and I've seen tracks of a female, but I've never seen a female in Cheetah Plains. The only female I've seen was actually on Djuma, on foot, while I was tracking, and she just disappeared into Torchwood, never to be seen again. Now, not so long ago, there were 3 cubs and 1 female cheetah, but seen on the Manyeleti boundary of Buffelshoek, so quite a long way away from our Travis area. But female cheetah are highly nomadic till they have cubs, and then only while they've got cubs do they remain only slightly more sedimentary before again taking on that nomadic lifestyle. So we see 2 cheetah regularly. Unfortunately, it would be nice to see a few more, but we don't. Today could be the day we see a cheetah we haven't seen. Wouldn't it be exciting to have a female with cubs? Oh, I haven't seen a cheetah cub in so long. They are very, very cute little straw balls, and when they're small, their back is almost the same color as the grass, that sort of dry grass, to help camouflage them. But there's not even a track of an elephant on cheetah plains today. Only those wildebeest and zebra so far. And Kanyeni hasn't been seen for quite a while. And when she hasn't been seen for a long time, I always like to check this little road. I found her on this road a couple of times. Woof, this wind. Now remember, if you've got any questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is the best way to get hold of us. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, yay, bird! That we haven't got on our list. Where did they go? Did they make an escape? No, they're a little bit to the right. I think there we go. Oh, white-crowned helmet shrike. Hello. Hello, you. One of our more common birds that we haven't got on the list. There we go. Hello, white-crowned helmet shrikes. Often called the Seven Sisters. Now, the reason for that is they are in flocks of 7. Strangely enough, most commonly in flocks of 7. Sometimes a few more, sometimes a few less. There we go. The 7 Sisters, the white-crowned helmet shrike. Shrikes. Let's go. Now, we're going to tick off our shrike and keep seeing if we can find anything else. I know Jamie's got to leave those leopards on foot shortly, so let's rush back to her.
We are indeed going to leave Hosana as soon as another vehicle gets here. We definitely don't want them to come in while we're still sitting right here with him. According to Dave's camera distance thing, the focus point, camera distance thing. You could tell I would have been an amazing cam up, wouldn't I? The camera distance thing tells us that we are 18 meters away, or the camera is 18 meters away from Hosana, so that's just under 60 feet. But this is the ideal position to be in, because he feels safe and we feel safe, because we've got a big pan in between the two of us. Not that we wouldn't be safe without it, but it does mean that we can be very, very relaxed in this situation, because he knows that we're not going to go racing across the pan, and we know that he's not going to come racing across the pan. Even Hosana, with his amazing aquatic tendencies, is not going to be up to doing that and getting across to us. And it's that psychological obstacle that you find with all animals. If, for example, you're approaching an ellie bull that has seen you and that knows you there, if you're out in the open, if you, rather than walking a straight line towards it, just put a nice big tree between you and it, a nice big fallen tree, it just has a way of making everything feel slightly more relaxed. So he's perfectly comfortable with us. I'm not pretending that I'm not visible, I'm not pretending to whisper or anything like that. I don't need to. We both know that we're here, and it's just a case of keeping that mutually respectful distance. I would never go much closer to him than this. If there was any further approach, at least not intentionally, if there was any further approach, especially Hosana, it would have to come from his side rather than from mine. So if he were to come and start to walk towards us. Xongile, we've seen, if you can do it very slowly, you can comfortably get close to her. But I think Hosana is a slightly different kettle of fish. And I noticed that the very first time I walked him, when we called Brent in on the vehicle, that was a mad race, remember that? When we heard the Impala alarm calling, and we found Hosana, but we knew that, what's there, boy? What you seen? Is there a terrapin? Get the terrapin. Get the terrapin, it's okay. We won't mind. We won't mind. How cool is this? This is so amazing. Hey, my beautiful boy. Yes. You're looking all dopey and sleepy. Did you have a funny dream, maybe? What did you see? Now, I said this yesterday, and I stand by it. I think he prefers the company of his sister more than she necessarily prefers his company. He seems to seek her out. And the two of them call to each other when they lose each other. And you'll probably find that when Taylor gets here, you'll see them doing it when they start to reunite. Rachel, speaking of that sibling bond, and it's very affectionate at the moment, apart from when one of them gets slightly overwrought with excitement and gets too boisterous, but it is very affectionate at the moment. But you're wondering the age-old question, will they remember each other years from now? We don't know. We don't ever know what goes on in leopards' minds. I certainly think that an offspring and a mother would remember each other, clearly, or know each other, even many years down the line. As for siblings, personally, I think so. I suspect so. I think that bond, not necessarily bond, because that bond is broken, but that knowledge is cemented when they are so young, and they spend basically 2 years of their lives with each other. So yes, I think they would remember, but the question from there is, would it stop them from behaving differently? And the answer is no. If it were two male cubs who were brothers, they would fight each other. If it were a male and a female, they would mate with each other, if the female happened to be an estrus. So it wouldn't change their behavior, their adult behavior in any way. But personally, and nobody will ever be able to, until we can actually read leopards' minds, nobody will ever be able to disprove that. I mean, even with Shadow and Karula, when they meet each other on the boundaries, or when Shadow's mating with Tingana and she comes into Karula's territory, they get cross with each other. I think you'll know. The other question, of course, is, do leopards of different generations recognize each other? Do Shimbambalana and Quarantine know that they're related to each other, that they're brothers? Does Quarantine know that he's... I don't know. I have no idea. You think they do?
Yeah.
Herbie thinks they do. Have you seen them behave differently with each other?
I've seen them rejoining.
You've seen them rejoining? Even different generations?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
3
3 generations altogether. That's awesome. Cool. I'm going to get Herbie to tell me the story in full. And while we wait for Taylor to get here in the vehicle, let's go across to Brent, who's having a fantastic birding afternoon.
Well, there we go. It's the missing Swanson spurfowl who's making his way straight towards us. Hello, Swansons. Embarrassed now. Now, the wind, for some reason, is literally picked up. It is gusting quite heavily at the moment. And I know Jamie had that wonderful warthog family, and I've seen them before around the Cheetah Plains Pan, and they just came running off and covered quite a bit of distance. So I want to go back to see where we saw them a bit earlier, to see maybe if it's Mr. Q that's given them a fright, or could it be the male cheetah? Or it could just be this wind and they're like, heck no, I don't want to be out here, something's going to eat me, I'm going home early today. But fingers crossed, it's a big cat. And for Brian, fingers crossed, it's a cheetah. Ooh, Chai Connie is wondering how many birds do we need to hit the 100 goal before Sunday. I think we're about halfway there, more or less. Let's have a look. We're on 53. So we need 47 bird species. Now, we did see the Namakwa doves, but they were too quick for us today. Is that a drop of rain? It is. What are you doing, one cloud? One cloud, and not even a very big one, is spitting at us. It's a very, very rude cloud. Let's have a word with it, Brian. Have a word with it. Another one. And they keep landing on my knee. Okay, so we just want to keep an eye out. This is great big cat hunting weather. This gusting wind. And it'll mean a lot of animals are not going to be able to use all their senses. Oh, thank you, Brian. Oh. For some reason, I've never been able to do little sneezes. They always come out as sort of cannons. Okay, so this is the area we saw the warthog in earlier, and I mean, in a short space of time, they covered a very big distance. There is always the possibility there is another sounder of warthog, but I think it's unlikely to be 2 females and 5 babies. Again, well, not unlikely, just improbable. Now, what we want is to see a cheetah sleeping next to the cheetah plains pan. Well, it was that warthog family. Okay, while we do a quick reconnaissance around this area, let's go to Taylor and Jamie.
We do have Jamie. Have a look. There's Jamie just sitting over there. Let me move out the way. He's waving, sitting on the termite mound. So what we're going to do in a moment, Jamie's actually going to pull out. I'm going to go onto the other side of that termite mound, and I think we'll get a view of Hosana. It's a little bit tight where he's sitting. Right, let's go. Craig, are you ready?